Breaking news, Aaron Glenn has officially become the new head coach of the New York Jets, ending any kind of speculation or rumors or what have you that he may be the next head coach of the New Orleans Saints. So let's talk about it, what it means for the Saints, a little bit of an immediate reaction here. So yesterday on my Twitter, I had a video where I walked around downtown New Orleans and looked at the snow and talked about the Aaron Glenn situation. And then yesterday I also made a video talking about it where I said, he's not going to leave New York without the job. Like, he's going to take this job. We all assumed it was going to happen. So now it is what we call officially official, ladies and gentlemen. Now let me say this. Silver linings playbook, glass half full type situation. But I think this is good for the Saints because now Mickey can sit back, relax, and Mickey, if you're watching this, God, please take my advice. He can sit back, relax. He doesn't have to do anything now. Who are the candidates, the realistic candidates for the Saints right now? Anybody in the back? Mike McCarthy, Kellen Moore, Joe Brady, and Darren Rizzi. Okay? Nobody wants McCarthy. Nobody. No one's talked to him. No one's interviewed him. There's no team that is interested in McCarthy. Moore and Brady both have games this weekend. Nobody is interviewing them. And Rizzi is in the building, snowed in. There is nothing that would make sense about rushing to a decision, hiring Mike McCarthy, or anything like that. The Saints now can kind of kick their feet up, let this play out, wait for Moore, wait for Brady, interview them, and do their full due diligence, and then make a decision whether it's Brady, Moore, Rizzi, or McCarthy. Now, the fear is, that's what I would do. That's how I look at it. Now the fear is that Mike McCarthy is not going to, or Mickey Loomis is not going to think like that, and he's going to hire Mike McCarthy. Like, Loomis is just going to freak out and jump and say, oh, well, okay, we didn't get Glenn, we got to make a move. And we end up just settling for Mike McCarthy without interviewing Brady or without interviewing Moore, and that would be a shame. So, Glenn, I think I think at a point, he was probably the favorite initially, but, I'm not that upset that he ends up going to the Jets. I think Aaron Glenn is a good coach. I have no problem with him, but I think we've tried that, like the whole, defensive head coach and all that, and I like the idea of going in a different direction. I like the idea of either getting younger and innovative and offensive with Moore or Brady, or I like the idea of saying, you know what, kind of like what Kubiak was doing. I like the operational stuff that Rizzi had going on. Earlier this week, I think it was Nick Underhill talked about how Rizzi's interview was pretty good. Like, Rizzi had a really impressive interview. So, maybe Rizzi's thrown his name back in there. AK-41 said that Rizzi would be his choice. Cam Jordan's come out and said that Rizzi would be his choice. So, I think this Rizzi thing is picking up more steam. And I think he's similar. To McCarthy in a way where a lot of people say, like, okay, well, the good thing about McCarthy is that he can keep things stable. Like, he can keep things stable. He can keep things as is. He can kind of, navigate the waters while you rebuild. And I would say Rizzi could probably do the exact same thing. I mean, Rizzi could, if that's what you want someone just to keep things chill, keep things stable, navigate while the roster's rebuilt and the financials are rebuilt and all of that, Rizzi might be your guy, especially if, and no one else is really talking about this, especially if it means keeping Kubiak. What else is everyone saying? We want innovation. We want youth. We want offense. We want Shanahan tree. Well, it sounds like Clint Kubiak to me. So if we're getting Rizzi to maintain the operational and the infrastructure and hold the locker room together, the locker room obviously is rooting for him. They obviously want to play for him. So if Rizzi is doing that and we can give Kubiak another year with this thing, I like that a lot. I really do. And then it just comes down to, okay, go find a DC. Go find your defensive coordinator, see what you can do there. And then not a bad coaching staff. Not bad. The McCarthy thing comes with a lot of questions. I've covered this a zillion times, but it comes with a lot of questions as far as, will he be calling plays? Will he be designing the offense, or will he go look for an offensive coordinator like he had in Dallas, like when Kellen Moore was his OC there and he let Moore call the plays. So until the very end, whenever Moore left. So a lot of questions. I would assume it's going to be interesting in Detroit, because with Glenn leaving and Ben Johnson leaving, I would assume that staff, well, it's not an assumption, it's for sure, that staff is going to get absolutely gutted as far as like their assistants, and Detroit is going to have a crazy amount of turnover. If you think about, Johnson's going to take, I would think, almost the entire offensive staff. Glenn is going to take almost the entire defensive staff. He may even take some of the offensive staff. He may elevate, Mark Brunell or somebody. He may elevate him to OC. Like, you never know how it's going to play out. So, but if you're Detroit, like, you're what a weird feeling where you win 15 games. You're the 1 seed. You got home field advantage. You feel on top of the world. You look great week in and week out. Then all of a sudden your season's over, gut punch, and then 90% of your staff is gone. So it's going to be something else. We'll see I think Detroit, I don't think they'll have a hard time replenishing, because I think people want to go there. Great roster. Dan Campbell has created a great culture, but it'll be interesting now, when you think about all these teams who have to rebuild and replenish the front office. Like, now Detroit's there, or not the front office, but the staff. Like the Saints, they need head coach, potentially offensive coordinator, potentially defensive coordinator. Well, Detroit has the head coach, but they need full-on new defensive staff, full-on new offensive staff. So, and there's a whole lot more pressure there to win in the next couple of years than in New Orleans. So interesting stuff, but another domino falls. We've seen a few more things. We saw Jacksonville, really interesting note. So Jacksonville, we all thought that Liam Cohen was going to go to the Jags, and he went down there and he left, and apparently he decides, I'm going to sign an extension with Tampa, and he talked about how it just wasn't the situation wasn't good, or the situation didn't fit. I can't remember the exact words he used, but he declined being the head coach of the Jags, took himself out of the race, didn't took himself out, said, you know what, no thanks, I saw what you have to offer, no thank you, and decided to be the OC for the Bucs again. So huge win for the Bucs. But man, I tell you what, another talking point. You're not going to hear it. You're not going to hear it on the the ESPN or wherever else, because they love Trevor Lawrence. But what does it say when one of the best offensive coordinators in the NFL goes to your team, goes in your interview process, looks at your roster with your $200 or $300 million franchise quarterback quotes, and says, you know what, I'm not really feeling this. Whew, that is not good. That is not a good look for Trevor Lawrence, not a good look for the Jaguars. I mean, think about what the Jags have offensively. You're looking at Etienne, Bigsby, Trevor Lawrence, Brian Thomas, and you get an offensive coordinator coming in there saying, like, I'm not really feeling this. Not really feeling this at all. What, they have like a top 6 pick? Man, I mean, I think the writing's on the wall with that one. I think, I've said my piece a million times about Trevor Lawrence, but he ain't it. He is absolutely not it. He is a mirage. He is a mirage. Then you look at Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson goes to Chicago. First thing he says in his press conference was Caleb Williams was a big part of this decision. Caleb Williams is a big part of why I came here. This roster is loaded. So it's like the complete opposite of Liam Cohen, where Liam Cohen looks at that entire roster and says, pass. And then Ben Johnson takes a look at DJ Moore and Caleb Williams and DeAndre Swift and says, and Rome Odunze, and says, I can do something with this. I'm excited about this. And so I'm excited to see what Caleb Williams does with Ben Johnson. Jared Goff, talk about another situation where Goff enters the league with Sean McVay, and then he gets Ben Johnson. I mean, Jared Goff has had quite the quarterback tutelage for his career in the NFL, which is another reason why it's so important now for Detroit. Like, who is that next OC? Who is the guy now you're trusting to to get the most out of Goff. And Goff was playing at an MVP level. If it wasn't for Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen having historic seasons, Jared Goff would for sure have been in that conversation. But, the coaching carousel continues. Overall, I think it's controversial yet brave, but I think it's probably beneficial for the Saints. Hopefully Mickey sees it that way. Hopefully Mickey sees it as, okay, I can relax now. I don't have to do anything crazy. McCarthy has literally zero interest except except everybody on the Saints subreddit seems to be the only people obsessed with Mike McCarthy. But chill. Mickey, if you're watching this, listen to me. I'm going to end the video with my advice. Chill, relax, interview Brady, interview Moore, and then just make the decision. Don't do anything right now. Get you some hot chocolate. Enjoy the snow. Take it one step at a time. All right? Let me know, ladies and gentlemen, what you think. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.